I think that an experience like this that focuses on the emotional connection first is an opportunity that I couldn't pass up.
Okay, the fourth position on the compass of love is west. Now, each position is equally important, just like if the northwest quarter of the earth was gone, it wouldn't work. So each position is vital in the cycle and sequence of human connection and interaction, and each plays a very significant role. So in this west, we have Leo Brody. Now, obviously he and Brittany didn't go on the full show, and I thought, well, maybe I wouldn't have enough clues to show you what a west really looks like, but actually after going through it and collecting all these snippets, I had more than enough. I had to actually delete some because he's so west. So we're going to go along on this little journey with Leo for the first part of The Love is Blind, where he connects with Brittany, who I believe is east. She's kind of hard to tell without a little more information. And then at the end, at the reunion, you can see how it all unfolded. So let's get started with Leo Brody, the West. And you'll see from the beginning, for him, the emotional connection is really important for a West. They are very sensitive and they're very introspective. And so for him, he just couldn't pass up this opportunity to find somebody that's opposite of him. But what's ironic about this show is everybody thinks they're looking for someone similar, but they're not.
If we went on vacation and I was like, I planned like some really fun stuff for us to do,
Oh my
of
God,
course,
please.
you would be like, I'm along for the ride.
Yes, anything.
Oh my God, that's like so important to me. I'm gonna be honest, I'm a planner.
So West are planners, and they're different planners than a North in that they want this experience to be something that has an order for them.
I'm like really fortunate to be 30 years old and like really not like have to worry about money at all.
So here we go, the beginning of Leo talking about money. And for West, money is important because they're practical, structured, and analytical. And so they thrive on that order and precision and planning for the future. So money represents security. Without financial stability, everything feels uncertain to a West. So he wants to project that he's financially secure. And it's important to him. There's nothing wrong with it, but it does kind of overshadow what he really wants to bring into this experience, which is relationship. And what he wants in a relationship is with an East, because East is all about relationships. So he's looking for the opposite. He just doesn't know it.
It's deep, and like I grew up financially like very well off. I'm incredibly financially fortunate.
So again, it's not about bragging necessarily. What he's doing is he's projecting that for him, it represents a key part of how he processes love, security, and stability. And he wants to project that, but not in a way that's braggy, although it kind of comes off that way.
For example, I'll give you one. Sprezzatura, that's Italian for the consciously trying to make something seem effortless.
So West are also trying to project competence. So he's trying to project what he knows in a way that's unique to him. And this is, it's kind of cool. So there's nothing wrong with that. This guy's a character and he's smart. Obviously, he's done a lot of studying about art, and he wants to project how competent he is in his subject.
It's so cliche, but like I'm starting to feel it for two different girls.
Okay, this is where West always gets themselves in trouble, it seems like on this show. Maybe not always, but many times, because they set themselves up for indecision because they can't decide from the get-go.
You're clearly like really smart.
I know a lot about a lot of things, I think.
I love that.
Okay, so this is a funny clue in regards to Hannah. Just like Taylor, she thinks she knows a lot about a lot of things. And so this is not a great match. A North and a West really struggle because a North always has these new ideas and wants to go. And like Hannah says, she likes new experiences. Well, a West is very traditional and they're looking backwards and they're always trying to navigate based on reflection and negotiation in their inability to take new ideas and work with them. So this is not a great match. And this would have never worked.
We might be like twin flames.
Yeah.
Again, trying to find some, and I get it that he's trying to find something similar that they are together, but they're definitely not twin flames. She is so north.
I'm a lot like Brittany's exes. Very structured, very like analytical. And you know what? I feel like her and I would attract each other outside of the pods.
What's funny about this little clip is that he says he's very similar to Brittany's exes, which are analytical. And what's so funny about this scene is that he's trying to analyze this situation where, he might have actually been connected or found Brittany outside of the pods and maybe not with Hannah. And he's probably right.
I like using the L word is something that's like so sacred and scary for me, but like I'm falling for you so fucking hard. Like,
okay, like in this scene, I don't know how many times he says so much in this whole story. He might have said more than he says actual words. He obviously isn't very confident in the way he speaks. And this scene is all about him trying to make sure that he has at least one solid choice. And so he's trying to convince her that she's on the top of his list, but he's not going to say the love you word because that's very important.
It's like in the lucky position of like, oh my God, I have two connections. Like I'm not trying to say woe is me. Like it's harder for you.
This is really interesting. The way he approaches this is that he's at least honest that he has two, but it's like he's trying to play one against the other versus deciding. And that's not attractive. Wes kind of think that they're sly and clever and that he thinks he's manipulating this situation. So he's completely forgetting that there's humans involved and he's not attracting them in the way that he needs to.
I know you would be with a pros and cons list on each person.
So this is Brittany recognizing that he's that analytical type that's going to have that pros and cons list because that's who she's dated before. So she recognizes that he's like the other people that she's dated. And she's probably right. He does have a pros and cons list.
So I knew you would never just have one.
You're right. You're really smart.
And she's probably also dealt with a West that can't decide and they can't just have one. And especially a West that thinks they have something over you. They will manipulate the situation so that they don't lose out.
And after our date today, honest to God, you're I swear to God, you're both number one.
Okay, you're both number one? And then she's saying to herself, we're both number one, you can't decide. This is just frustrating for her, and he's trying to make sure that he has an option.
Can you see yourself being married to me?
Yeah.
Okay, so now he's fishing. And he's fishing for that security and to make sure that he's not left out. And so he's asking, if I asked you to marry me, would you say yes? And she says yes. And
I think that if I was in this position right now,
Yeah.
I would be like, oh man, Leo, look at you. You dog. You play it like that. I don't feel like that at all.
Okay, he said the same exact thing to Brittany. And he's like, he doesn't feel like that necessarily, but he's manipulating the situation so that he is like that. And it's very unfortunate the way that he's going about this, and it doesn't turn out well for him.
Are you making that decision right now or like later?
No. I'd like to make the decision later.
Of course he'd like to make the decision later because Wes want more time to try to collect all this information to finally decide.
And then I'm like afraid that like, God forbid if I make a decision and it's not you, like you're even like more hurt or something, or like, it's like honestly like this whole day.
Leo, I will be fine.
So this is interesting because of it's his indecision. He's kind of almost trying to say, look, I'll feel bad if I hurt you. And what what he's misunderstanding is it has nothing to do with her necessarily, is that he can't decide. So he's trying to like manipulate the situation so that she feels like it's almost on her that he can't decide. And she's like, I'll be fine, doofus.
A teeny tiny bit longer because I need to have one final conversation.
So this is so wrong. What he's basically doing is making sure that he has a backup plan. And then he's like, you need to wait just a little bit longer because if this doesn't work out, I'm coming back to you. This is the betrayal part of West that they don't understand, that they set themselves up for by not deciding. And it's part of who they are in their position. I get it. But when they use it to manipulate situations and hurt, and they don't want to hurt people, but they end up doing it by not deciding, which is the crux of every position's concern, is when it has control of them, it is used against themselves.
I've been sitting here deliberating and I really like both of them so much.
Really, who do you think you are? Like, how is it that you get to decide or deliberate while you're leaving these two people in limbo? And what you'll realize is that, or what you'll recognize is that the North is like, okay, I'm done with this. And the East, because that's basically I think the only option she has left at this point in the story, is that she waits for him.
With Brittany, I feel so confident because of how open and honest we are with each other.
Okay, this is interesting because he says that he feels confident with Brittany because they're open and honest, but what it is that he feels like he can manipulate her and control her, and she will be there for him. And with Hannah, who's North, who's very black and white and probably maybe not as open as honest, he's not feeling like he can control.
I'm so incredibly financially blessed. Of course, I would want me and like my wife to like live a lifestyle.
Okay, so he's trying to convince her with security. So his concern is about security and he has it. So now he's like, oh, I can give that to you. And he's trying to convince Hannah by thinking that that's going to be the thing that influences her.
I got down on one knee, you'd say yes.
Yeah.
If I was to propose now, would you say yes? And now he's got 2 yeses, so he feels like he's in control.
Both of you or none of you?
Why both or none? That makes no sense to me.
Because I'm split.
Both of you or none of you? And she's like, what are you talking about? That's so mean. And he's like, I didn't even think of it that way. Yeah, like because he's an only child, he's got his way, and he thinks that he can manipulate this situation and just decide as if it's only his choice. And she's like, I don't think so. So this is where Brittany starts to turn and realize, okay, enough. I'm kind of done with this. But what's so funny is he's like, oh, but I'm split.
Part of me wanted to just say oval, but I wanted to like mitigate my choices.
Yes, West is always trying to mitigate their choices. That's a really interesting and important word because they're always trying to figure out, oh my gosh, if I could get some more information, I could figure out how to make a choice. If I could go backwards, if I could have more time. But at some point, you got to make a choice.
Do you feel like that I wasn't committed to you?
Yeah.
Well,
Okay, now Hannah's decided, look, I'm going with Nick, who is also a West, and that would not work. But anyway, And he's like, what? Well, what do you mean? Like, it wasn't clear that I wanted to be with you. And she's like, yeah, duh.
Do you feel like I was stronger, but because I wasn't committed, that's why?
What's so funny about these positions? And he's like, kind of like in the moment of like, wait, was it because that I was undecisive? You're like, yeah, it was because you were undecisive. And we have such a hard time seeing ourselves. But when it's super apparent, it's kind of like, oh, I didn't realize I was doing that.
Because you told me that you had the same exact feelings for me and the same connection you do with somebody else. That's not someone I want.
Hannah, like,
Yeah. So you can't tell a North that you have the same exact feelings, or even an East for that matter, and then give them that uncertainty and then expect them to just keep holding on until you decide.
I want you. Like, I had no idea you were having all these feelings.
So this is just absolute cluelessness. Like, you didn't know that she had feelings. Like, is it really just about you? And now he's getting to the point where he's when you push a West, they're not afraid to confront. And this is where he gets himself in trouble because he has no idea how to navigate or negotiate this.
Please give me an answer. Like, I'm just tortured sitting over here, like, not knowing if I have a chance with you or if I don't.
Now, this is the irony of all ironies. So he's sitting over there saying, can you just give me an answer? When he's been leading these two on this entire time. And he's over there like in pain. You're like, well, what do you think you were doing? Like, come on, buddy.
We're not the kind of people that give validation easily.
So he's not the kind of person that gives validation easily because he can't decide. Now, she actually does give validation when she decides, and it will be when she decides. When she's over the drop zone, she will give validation. So he's absolutely wrong in this case.
We're both kind of reserved. We're both ENTJs. But if we can get there, we'd be unstoppable.
No, he's reserved, and this is why these ENTJ things, I think that's Enneagram, doesn't work because they're too mixed in thinking. If you think a West and a North are the same, then you're completely off because a West is so different than a North, and that's why it's really hard or difficult to have a North-West relationship because North is all about new ideas and West is all about going backwards to ideas that have already been proven.
Damn it, I was planning on saying all this right now, but in a very different context. And I have another connection I can go to. You understand? It's not even like I'm fighting for you because you're my only one.
I don't even know how he thinks that that's going to work. Like, go with me because I have another one? What?
Have another person, that doesn't mean it's the same feelings. My other connection is amazing, but you, I don't know if I'll ever get a chance with someone like you ever again.
So this is really interesting because he's saying like, I don't think I'll ever have a chance with someone like you again. Now, what's interesting is what happens later. And this is what West will do. They will flip and deny and betray.
Really confused. It's just a weird situation.
So this is just a weird scene because they have the two guys that are involved with Hannah, both Wests, and they look very similar. And they're very similar because they're both West, and this is kind of...
Entire time, he's my person, you know?
That's exactly how I feel about Brittany.
Oh my gosh. So Hannah's like, look, I've decided he's my person. He's always been my person. And now he's like, that's exactly how I feel about Brittany. I have no idea what he thinks he was doing here. Well, I do. He's West. So now he's like up against a rock and a hard place. So he's got to go completely flip and go the other way. But I can't imagine what this was like for Brittany to watch.
If there's one thing I would ask you to do for me, is I would like beg of you to tell Brittany that like it really was mutual and that like I really genuinely care for her.
Okay, this is just such a weird, creepy thing to do. And she's like, what? Why would I go do that? And tell her that it was mutual. So somehow he looks like he's worthy? Oh, that's just weird.
I felt like betrayed, and I felt like we were both going to be taking as much time as possible to make this like informed decision.
So this is funny. He's like, I felt betrayed, but what he actually did was betray. But he felt betrayed because he wasn't given the time to make an informed decision in his mind. So he literally thinks that, I wasn't able to go through my process, which is this long, strung out decision-making process for him. So he feels betrayed when what he actually did was betrayed Hannah and Brittany.
Like I told the producers in the morning to cancel our date.
That's not what you told me last night.
So this is funny because he's trying to now weasel his way out of this and say something that wasn't true. And for North, she's like, no, that's not true. She's so black and white and funny. This is a hilarious scene. He's like, oh, you remember that?
I'm so in love with you, Brittany.
Okay, who wanted to vomit here? Like, this is such a weasel move. And I like Leo, and I think he learned his lesson by the end of this. But wow, seriously? Like, did he understand that he was on live television, that this was being recorded, and that this was going to be played back? Like, hello?
It absolutely works. I'm engaged through a wall to a girl I've never seen, and I've never been so sure of anything in my life.
And now to justify himself, oh yes, this absolutely works.
Every Victoria's Secret supermodel could walk like right into this room right now, and I would just be like, I don't care. I'm just literally, all I want is my fiance, and
As if Victoria's Secret models are going to look at him. I mean, Leo, you're cute, but come on. This scene is hilarious. Now he's really trying to, justify his decision. He's made a decision, and now he is so committed and so loyal.
You knew it.
you knew I was gonna be thrilled.
Yeah, I did.
You were like, just wait till he sees me.
Yeah. I was like, what an idiot.
Okay, so this is funny and awkward because she's like, yeah, you idiot. And he's like, he's trying to reconcile what he did with the situation he's now in. And she's obviously gorgeous. So he's awkward, she's awkward, this whole scene, awkward.
Bring out in me. Mm-hmm. Not only did you teach me to follow my heart, but like, I want to be your structure so you can be like your most intuitive self.
Really? She taught him how to follow his heart. He's trying to be sincere and deep. And I don't know about you, but I'm like, really, really, ew.
But I know you're smart.
And now he's trying to convince her that she's smart because she held through and decided to go with him after he completely betrayed her.
Oh, this is so much pressure.
It's okay.
So he said all the things that he liked about her, and he says, well, what do you like about me? And she's like, yeah, I don't know.
This is definitely one of those awkward moments in my life.
Yeah, and we're all feeling it. Like, he's so awkward.
I feel like you're lying when you say it.
So this is funny. So this is what gets West in trouble. Now he's gone back and forth, couldn't decide. Now he's decided, and now she doesn't believe him. And do you blame her? Like, he's just trying to convince her now that she made the right choice, and he's just flubbing this up left and right.
Oh God, what have I done?
she's got the ick, and she's now like, oh my gosh, what have I done? Because he is not what I was fighting for.
Do you ever realize how often you spoke about money?
I know, it seemed like I really couldn't shut up about it. But geez, this Leo guy won't shut up about it. So
So what I find interesting about this show is that afterwards, through the whole thing, after they go watch themselves and they go to the reunion, how so many of them, well, we all do, I think, we look back and like, is that really me? Is that really what I did? And how embarrassing it is, because what we don't understand is we play these 4 positions in the game of love, and it comes out without us knowing it because it's so innate, it's natural, it's our human nature. And sometimes, well, every time you're kind of like, wow, that's what I'm doing. So good for him for just being, like, yeah, that's embarrassing.
I would often tell him, brother, I know that you're trying to process and take this so seriously, but eventually you have to make a decision. You were kind of sitting on the fence and you had to take the lick how you did.
So this is Tim, who's a North, and he was basically telling him that, like, dude, this is black and white. Sometimes you've got to make a decision. You've got to just move on. And this is a funny situation where you get these clues from other people about who they are, and Leo is absolutely West.
When you're at a restaurant and, you're between, should I have the pasta or the steak? Let me order last. And you're trying to take every little bit of time. I was like fighting for every second of time.
Okay, Leo, I mean, he's kind of clueless, and he's trying to make this comparison between pasta and steak. And I get what he was trying to do. And he's basically saying, like, I just can't decide between pasta and steak or Brittany and Hannah.
I was so wrapped up in my decision that I really wasn't realizing how it was impacting people, how it was, what I was doing to Brittany, what I was doing to Hannah.
Okay, he's very humble now, and he's realizing what he did. And like I said, when we're in life and we're swimming around in our biology, we don't understand what we're doing. We don't understand why, which is why self-awareness and your understanding your position is so important, because he could have navigated this completely differently. Everybody could have.
I'm someone that likes to have control of every situation and make decisions, and I've been really trying to work on taking other people into consideration.
So as I mentioned earlier, he likes to make decisions and have control of the situation, but not like a North. For him, it's like he's got to have this certain order. It's got to be his way, because for him, that's how his mind works. And so he needs to control it because he wants that order.
I'm so sorry also for just how my inability to make a decision just, put you through the ringer in the pods.
Thank you.
By the end, obviously, he feels bad, and good for him for actually apologizing and being humble about it, and apologizing to Brittany for what he did, because she didn't deserve that. And like he said, he just reiterates and gives us more and more clues about his epiphany about what he does. But what would be great is if he studies his position in the game of Love West, understands why he does what he does, and can learn to navigate that and relate to people on a completely different level, and have that self-awareness, so that he does recognize that it's not just about Leo, and that he can have a great relationship, marriage, family, if he learns how to negotiate this, learns how to negotiate himself and his relationships at a much higher level. So that is West in a nutshell. And like I said, I was kind of amazed how many clues I got without him even going to Mexico, without even then coming back. Wow, Leo could not be more West, and could not have given us more obvious clues in the game of love. So Please like and subscribe, do all the things. I would love it, really appreciate it. I am fully 100% here for you to help you navigate and learn this game of love so you can play like a champion and actually enjoy and love your life and create that family or whatever it is that you want in life. Also, you can go to my website, fourcrosslove.com. I have free cliff notes. You don't even need an email on my book, Love is Not Blind, You Are, where I have written about the show Love is Blind and put the first 6 seasons and the Brazilian season and the Swedish seasons within a book and all the ways that our positions play the game of love. Thank you.